not through words, but through silence, through posture, through breath, through tension and stillness. The world reveals itself not only in what is said, but more often, in what is not. To truly master the art of reading people, you must first unlearn the habit of rushing to speak. You must become still enough, clear enough, aware enough, that you can hear what others are trying so hard to hide, even from themselves, because people are always communicating with their eyes. Stillness is your greatest tool for perception. In a world constantly rushing, constantly speaking, constantly moving, stillness has become rare. Yet it is within the stillness that the deepest truths begin to reveal themselves. To master the art of reading people, you must first master the art of being still, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and energetically. When the mind is quiet, it observes more. It doesn't rush to interpret, it doesn't interrupt with judgments, it simply sees. Most people listen in order to reply. They watch in order to react. But a trained mind, a still mind, watches in order to understand. There is no effort in this kind of observation. It is not forced. It is natural, like a calm lake that reflects whatever stands before it. It does not chase the reflection. It simply receives it. In the same way, your stillness allows you to receive the unspoken truths of others. Imagine two people in conversation. One is speaking quickly, interrupting, laughing too loud, always ready with an answer. The other is silent, listening deeply, observing calmly. Who is more in control? Who is more aware? The one who is still sees more. The flutter of a hand, the change in tone, the hesitation between words. All of these are messages, invisible to the distracted, yet obvious to the still. Stillness sharpens the senses. You begin to notice how someone breathes when they're anxious, how their eyes shift when they're hiding something, how their shoulders tighten when a topic touches something painful. These are not things they say. These are things they show, but only to those quiet enough to see them. The practice of stillness is not just about sitting in meditation. It is about being fully present in every encounter. When you greet someone, are you fully there? Or are you already thinking about what to say next? When someone speaks to you, are you truly listening? Or are you filtering their words through your own expectations and judgments? True stillness is not passive. It is a state of deep, alert presence. This stillness becomes a mirror, and people, knowingly or not, reveal themselves to mirrors. Because they feel safe, they feel seen without being judged. And that safety creates honesty, not through words, but through being. When you are still, others can feel it. They sense that you are not trying to get something from them, not trying to win, not trying to impress. You are simply there, fully, calmly, steadily. In this state, your perception becomes like water, flowing, receptive, clear. You no longer rely on what someone says to know what they mean. You sense the intention behind the words. You feel the energy behind the posture. You notice when someone says yes, but their body says no. This is not a gift. It is a skill, and it begins with stillness. Stillness also protects your energy. You are not pulled into others' chaos. You remain grounded, centered, and from that center, you observe without absorbing. You witness without reacting. You notice without needing to fix or change. That inner space gives you freedom, the freedom to choose your response, rather than be controlled by the reactions of others. People communicate more through silence than speech. Words are only a small part of what someone truly expresses. Beneath every sentence, beneath every gesture, there is a layer of truth that often goes unnoticed. Most people speak without awareness, not realizing that their silence, their pauses, and their unspoken tension often say more than their chosen words. When you pay close attention, you begin to hear what is not being said, and that is where the real message lies. Observe someone in conversation. They may tell you they are fine, but their voice lacks conviction. They smile, but their eyes are distant. They speak, but their words seem disconnected from their posture. These are signals that emerge not from language, but from everything surrounding it. It is in the silence before a reply, the breath held in hesitation, the sudden change in eye contact. These moments of silence are often the most honest parts of a conversation. Human beings have learned to control their speech, to say what is acceptable, to present what is expected. But the body does not lie as easily. Silence cannot be dressed up in the same way. It slips through, revealing hesitation, anxiety, discomfort, even excitement or affection. The person may not be aware of it themselves, but it is there, waiting to be noticed by someone who is present enough to hear beyond the noise. Even in the presence of no words at all, communication continues. Think of the atmosphere in a room. Two people may sit together in silence, yet the energy between them says everything. One may feel restless, while the other remains composed. One may feel open, the other guarded. These sensations are part of the silent conversation. The tone, the presence, the space between people, all of it speaks. To read these silent messages, you must step out of your own inner noise. You cannot notice subtle signals if you are trapped in thoughts, judgments, or internal dialogue. When your mind becomes quiet, your attention becomes sharp. You begin to notice patterns, how often someone touches their face when nervous, how their breathing changes when discussing certain topics, how their feet point toward or away from you depending on their comfort level. These signs are always present, but few people take the time to see them. Speech is often a mask. It is used to defend, to persuade, to convince. But silence cannot wear a mask for long. It is raw. It is revealing. A person may try to hide their emotion, but the silence between their words often betrays them. A single pause can carry more emotional weight than an entire sentence. A sigh, a swallowed word, a glance at the ground. These are windows into the truth beneath appearances. In every interaction, look not only at what is being said, but at what is being held back. Notice what topics bring comfort, and which ones create a shift in energy. See how people retreat into silence when they are afraid, and how that silence shifts again when they feel safe. The way someone withdraws can say more than any explanation. The way someone remains quiet when they could speak. That choice is often filled with meaning. It is not enough to hear the words. You must listen to the silence wrapped around them. This silence holds emotions, thoughts, intentions, often more honestly than language ever could. To understand people deeply, you must become fluent in this silent language, not to invade their privacy, but to honor their truth, not to interrogate, but to understand. The deeper your sensitivity to silence, the more clearly you will see the human being behind the performance. The body reveals what the mouth tries to hide. In every moment, even when a person chooses silence or carefully crafted words, their body continues to speak with honesty. It is not limited by vocabulary, nor does it filter through social approval. It simply expresses what is, directly, immediately, and often unconsciously. If the mind lies, the body corrects it. If the words are manipulated, the body still reflects the truth. A nervous person may offer confident words, but their fingers tremble slightly. Their eyes scan the room, avoiding steady contact. Their shoulders hunch inward, as if protecting something vulnerable. The truth is right there, not in the speech, but in the posture. A person may declare they are not angry, yet their jaw is clenched, their arms crossed tightly, their foot tapping with suppressed energy. These subtle signs are not accidental. They are the body's way of expressing what has not been acknowledged mentally or emotionally. To see this truth, one must slow down, rushing past people in conversation, waiting only to speak, or focusing solely on the surface level of interaction. These habits blind us to what is clearly visible. The art of perception begins by training the eye to observe, not just look. It requires you to expand your attention beyond words and into the realm of movement, stillness, and form. The way a person sits, stands, moves their hands, even the way they breathe, all of it contains valuable insight. Breathing is especially revealing. A deep, relaxed breath suggests presence, calm, openness. Shallow, fast breathing can signal anxiety, defensiveness, or fear. A person may not be aware of how their breath shifts when a certain topic is raised, but it happens. And if you are present enough to notice, you will understand what their words cannot express. You begin to see when someone is holding something back, even if they themselves do not fully understand it. The face alone is an entire map of emotion. Micro expressions, those brief flashes of feeling that appear for less than a second, cannot be controlled. A flash of sadness in the eyes before a smile is forced. A flicker of contempt before a polite agreement. These tiny signals are often dismissed by the untrained observer, but they are rich in meaning. They reveal the conflict between what the person wants to show and what they actually feel. When you learn to notice these subtle cues, you no longer need to rely on explanations to understand someone's inner world. Hands, too, are full of messages. Fidgeting, tapping, grasping, rubbing, hiding. Every gesture is part of the language the body speaks. A confident person gestures openly, taking up space with ease. An unsure person may hide their hands, keep them in their pockets, or wring them together. These are not random habits. They are expressions of emotional states that words often cover up. Even the orientation of the feet can signal connection or avoidance. Feet pointing away from someone may indicate discomfort or a desire to leave, even if the conversation continues with a smile. The body is not separate from the mind. It reflects the mind, often more truthfully than the spoken word. To read people deeply, you must stop relying only on what they tell you and start tuning into what their body is constantly expressing. This is not about suspicion. It is about awareness. Most people are unaware of what their body is saying because they are unaware of their own emotions. But the signals are always there, visible, honest, and immediate. If you can learn to read the body, you can learn to read people not through what they intend to show, but through what they cannot help but reveal. Clear attention sees beyond masks and performances. Most people wear layers of identity, shaped by their roles, environments, and experiences. They act according to what is expected, presenting versions of themselves that feel acceptable or safe. But behind these masks, there is always something more real, something more vulnerable, something quietly waiting to be seen. When your attention is clean, steady, and without judgment, it becomes a mirror that reflects what lies beneath the surface. Clear attention is not distracted attention. It does not wander between thoughts or drift into assumptions. It remains focused on the present, rooted in what is actually happening rather than what should be. It listens with the whole body. It watches with stillness. It feels without interruption. In this space of pure attention, people often begin to reveal themselves without even realizing it, not because they are being questioned or analyzed, but because they feel seen without being exposed. Most performances collapse in the face of real presence. When someone knows they are being observed deeply yet without judgment, the performance becomes harder to maintain. The need to impress, to appear strong, to pretend, it all begins to fade. What remains is a person, not a role. When your attention is clear, it creates a space where truth can breathe. This is rare. Most people have never experienced being fully seen. They are used to conversations filled with distraction, with opinions waiting to be voiced, with attention divided between devices and thoughts. The power of clear attention is not loud. It does not dominate the space or demand control. It is quiet, like a steady flame, yet it sees everything. It notices when someone's energy shifts, when their smile doesn't reach their eyes, when their voice softens as they touch a memory they didn't intend to share. It senses the moment when someone steps away from their performance and comes into contact with something real. That moment is powerful. That moment is connection. To cultivate this level of attention, you must remove your own filters. If you are constantly comparing, judging, or interpreting based on your own fears, you will miss what is actually in front of you. You will see only your own projections. Clear attention is not about what you want to see. It is about what is. This requires humility. It requires you to let go of the need to be right, the need to figure someone out quickly, the need to control the narrative. It is a discipline of awareness, one that sharpens over time with practice and patience. When you begin to see beyond the surface, you realize how often people are hiding. Even the most confident individuals carry hidden doubts. Even those who appear joyful carry unspoken weight. But clear attention does not intrude. It simply sees. And in seeing, it gives permission. Permission for someone to be more than their mask. Permission for truth to rise without force. This is not something you can fake. People can sense when they are being observed with genuine presence versus being scrutinized or judged. Clear attention is calm. It does not react. It does not rush. It waits. It holds space. It welcomes without needing to fix. In this space, the unspoken becomes visible. You begin to recognize the patterns. The way someone always jokes when they feel anxious. The way they explain when they feel insecure. The way they deflect compliments because they don't believe they are worthy. These are performances, often unconscious. But beneath them is always something real, something human, something that deserves to be seen. And when your attention is clear, it becomes a doorway through which that truth is gently invited forward. Reading others begins with understanding yourself. Without inner clarity, perception becomes distorted. You don't see others as they are. You see them through the lens of your own unresolved emotions, your own expectations, your own assumptions. If you are anxious, you may misread calm as disinterest. If you are insecure, you may see confidence as arrogance. Your inner noise becomes a filter that colors everything outside of you. The clearer you become within, the more accurate your understanding of others becomes. To understand yourself means to study your own reactions. Why does someone's silence make you uncomfortable? Why do certain expressions trigger defensiveness? Why do you feel the urge to interrupt, explain, or prove something in the presence of certain people? These reactions are not caused by others. They are reflections of something within you. And unless you become aware of these patterns, you will project them onto others and call it intuition. True perception begins when you can separate your inner state from what is actually in front of you. Self-awareness is a mirror. It shows you how your energy changes in different situations. It reveals when you are truly present and when you are performing. It teaches you to listen to your own body. Just as you wish to read the bodies of others, you learn to observe your breath, your posture, your tone, your tension. You notice when you say things you don't mean. You catch yourself when you hide behind words or smile through discomfort. And as you see yourself more honestly, you begin to see others with the same clarity. Understanding yourself is not about fixing everything. It's about recognizing what is. When you know the weight you carry, you stop projecting it onto others. When you understand your own wounds, you stop expecting others to heal them for you. This creates space between stimulus and response, space between assumption and understanding, space between reaction and insight. In that space, observation becomes clean. You begin to notice the difference between what someone is saying and what they are feeling, not because you are guessing, but because your attention is no longer clouded. Many people want to read others without doing the inner work. They want insight without awareness. But without self-understanding, their observations are often tainted by bias. You cannot read someone clearly if you are secretly trying to gain something from them. Approval, validation, control. The ego seeks to interpret in ways that serve itself. It doesn't want the truth, it wants comfort. Self-understanding is what dissolves that filter. It allows you to approach others not from need, but from presence. When you are grounded in yourself, you do not rush to conclusions. You do not panic in silence. You do not take things personally. You observe the other person with curiosity, not judgment. You ask, what is this person showing me? Rather than, what does this mean about me? This shift in perspective opens a deeper level of connection. You begin to listen not just with your ears, but with your whole awareness. You notice the spaces between words, the energy behind actions, the contradictions between expression and emotion. You also become more compassionate. Because when you understand your own struggles, you recognize them in others without the need to label or criticize. You see someone's defensiveness and recognize fear. You see someone's anger and recognize pain. You see someone's withdrawal and recognize overwhelm. This depth of understanding does not come from reading books or memorizing techniques. It comes from knowing yourself so well that you no longer need others to be anything for you. You are free to simply observe, to be present, and to receive what is being shared without forcing your own narrative onto it. True awareness is rooted in compassion, not control. Many people seek to read others as a means of gaining advantage, to predict behavior, to influence outcomes, to protect themselves from disappointment. But when the foundation is control, the intention becomes rigid. Observation loses its purity. What could be a doorway to deeper connection becomes a strategy for manipulation or defense. Real awareness does not come from a place of superiority. It does not seek to dominate or to win. It seeks only to understand, to honor what is present without interference. Compassion changes how you see people. Instead of asking, what's wrong with them? You begin to wonder, what might they be carrying? Instead of focusing on how someone's behavior affects you, you begin to consider what may have shaped that behavior. Awareness becomes less about decoding someone and more about connecting with them. You stop trying to get something from the person in front of you and begin to truly witness them. That witnessing is not passive. It is active in its stillness, generous in its attention. When compassion leads, the entire energy of interaction shifts. You don't look at someone's nervousness and see weakness. You see the pressure they might be under. You don't look at anger and see hostility alone. You sense the pain or helplessness beneath it. Even silence is no longer empty. It is full of stories, full of emotions, full of meaning waiting to be understood. Compassion allows you to remain open. It prevents you from closing your heart when you don't understand someone immediately. Reading people becomes an act of respect. Not an invasion of their privacy, but a careful honoring of their truth. You listen more deeply. You observe without rushing to conclusions. You notice patterns not to label someone, but to be sensitive to what they might need. A person who interrupts often might not be rude, but anxious. A person who avoids eye contact might not be dishonest, but deeply shy. A person who stays quiet may not be indifferent, but overwhelmed. These distinctions are subtle, but they matter. They are the difference between reacting and responding, between judging and understanding. When your awareness is guided by compassion, you also become more patient. You stop needing to figure someone out in the first few minutes. You give people room to unfold, to reveal themselves in their own time. You understand that not everyone can be seen instantly, and that some people are still learning how to show up as they truly are. This patience is not weakness. It is strength. It is the strength of someone who is not controlled by urgency or ego. Compassion also includes boundaries. It does not mean accepting harmful behavior. But even when you choose distance or disengagement, it is done with clarity, not resentment. You step back not because you hate someone, but because you understand what your own peace requires. That understanding still arises from awareness, and that awareness is still infused with compassion for them and for yourself. There is a quiet power in this kind of presence. It sees clearly without becoming cold. It feels deeply without becoming reactive. It notices pain without becoming overwhelmed by it. It allows others to feel safe, not because you say the right things, but because your attention is sincere. People sense when they are being observed with care. They soften. They open. They allow you to see not just the version they present, but the truth underneath it. The ability to read people without saying a word is not about intellect. It is about empathy. It is not about technique. It is about presence. And presence without compassion is empty. Compassion without awareness is blind. But when both meet, something powerful happens. You begin to understand people in ways they may not even understand themselves. And in that understanding, you offer something rare, the feeling of being truly seen without being judged. To read people without words is not about learning tricks or mastering techniques. It is about becoming deeply still, profoundly aware, and rooted in compassion. It is about clearing the noise within yourself so you can witness the truth in others. When your attention is silent, your presence steady, and your heart free from judgment, you begin to hear the language that is spoken in silence. Through breath, through posture, through energy, you begin to understand not just what someone says, but what they feel, what they carry, and what they are trying to hide. And in that understanding, you offer something rare in this world: presence without pressure, perception without pride, and awareness that heals instead of controls. This is the quiet power of those who choose to see, even when nothing is said.